Hi, everybody. Mitch Tannenbaum here. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to talk about the changes that have come out of the Pentagon very recently, like in this month. So what are we? We're recording the 8th of the month. So in the last 8 days, it's pretty interesting. And what's even more interesting, what did change, what didn't change, how they're doing it, and what it means to you. So this is, buckle up. I'm going to do this pretty quickly. But if you have questions, then you should reach out to us. So first, let's talk about what didn't change. So what didn't change is DFARS 7012, 252.204-7012. No changes to that, which is kind of the core of CMMC. No changes to the 7008 DFARS either, which is kind of the cloud computing piece of it. No changes to 7021 or 7025, which are the CMMC pieces. So you can see they've kind of gone and done this surgically, which is interesting. 7019, which is you got to do your scores and spurs and stuff, that's actually gone. And before you cheer about that, understand why it's gone. Okay, if you remember, before CMMC came into effect on November 10th, you could enter any score in spurs. You could enter a score of minus 203 and be compliant. You can't do that anymore. Now, if you don't have at least a score of 88 with a poem for the remaining items, then only certain items can be poemed. 3-point or 5-point items other than FIPS encryption can be poemed. There's no reason for 7019, just because it doesn't matter. 7020 has been renumbered, and I'm looking at my notes here, so if you're wondering what the heck I'm doing, that's what I'm doing. 7020 has been renumbered to 252.240 7097 7997 252.240-7997. That's basically unchanged, and is kind of talks about the DIBCAC and assessments. Basically, the thing that's gone is a self-assessment, because that's kind of tied to 7019. But the medium and high DIBCAC assessments, those are still in there, so that really doesn't affect anything. 7020, the title didn't change, other than removing that basic self-assessment. Nothing changed. Let's see. So that's kind of the FAR, which applies everywhere in the government, that 52.204-21, that has been renumbered to 52.240-93, but it was absolutely no changes, zero changes to it. So this is a structural thing where they're taking the stuff that used to be in Section 204 and moving to Section 240. Don't ask me why, but probably part of bigger plans. So really, not a lot of change. But the thing that's interesting is this is not done with any rulemaking. This is all done with class deviations, which basically is, all that's required is the Secretary of Defense to go issue a memo and sign it, and it's now the rule. Ignore what it says in the Federal Register, do it this way. And, oh yeah, by the way, that can be undone just as quickly with another stroke of the pen. So that part's kind of unsettling, if you will. But the plan is that they're probably going to go off and do a massive, either single or small number of updates to the Federal Register in the actual rulemaking to codify this. They did put out a memo. It's about 65 pages long, just describing the changes that they've done so far, and more to come. So, they threatened they were going to simplify the Federal Acquisition Regulation. I wouldn't call this a major simplification, but it is kind of around the edges. I guess it did get rid of one thing, which is your basic self-assessment. But in exchange for that, if you don't have a score of 88 or higher, you're kind of screwed, because you don't have anything at all now to show your progress. So if all this means you have more questions than you did before we started, I'm sorry. I can't blame you for that. But please reach out to us. We'll be happy to try to unwind this a bit. It also means that if you're behind on your CMMC planning, or implementation, now would be a good time to get unbind. Obviously, we can help you with that as well. So with that little bit of love, I'm going to sign off today. But CMMC is coming, and it looks like it's coming quickly. So thanks for listening, and please contact us if you have any questions.